down, I asked Fred, can we do December, January, February? Fred says, no, you get July. That's the finance folks get. But no, in fact, it's hotter in Baltimore this week than it is down here, so it gets hotter everywhere. But again, thanks for introducing us, Fred. And yes, I have been with this organization for almost 23 years. It'll be 23 years in September. And in case you were wondering, I started when I was 5. So I'm not that old yet. But I was born and raised in Baltimore. I grew up there. I don't live far from where I was born. I live 3 miles from where I grew up in Baltimore. And I enjoyed the life there. Met my wife in high school. We're high school sweethearts. We've been married for 25 years. We have 2 wonderful boys. My oldest boy, Kevin, is 22, just graduated from college. And he's just about to start his career as a police officer. So we're really excited about him getting his career started. And my youngest son, Justin, is 15 and just got his learner's permit. And they're it's very good that you guys are here, not in Baltimore, watching you drive. And both of our boys, it's pretty incredible, both our boys went to the same elementary school, the same middle school, and the same high school as my wife and I. It's pretty amazing. So we're kind of stuck where we grew up. So that's a little bit about me. I'll let DJ introduce himself before we get started into the agenda today. DJ?
All right, thanks, Jim. How's everybody doing? The pictures are amazing. Before getting into finance at the University of Delaware, I wanted to be in civil engineering and do construction. I wanted to do bridges, but looking at the development that's going to happen here is fantastic. You all have a great home ahead of you. So, I too am from Baltimore. I lived there all my life. I grew up just north of the city, and I now have 5 kids, 3 girls and 2 boys. At all different ages. My oldest daughter is going to be joining Millersville University up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania in the fall, and she's going to be playing volleyball, so we're very excited about that. And all of my kids are student athletes, if you will, and my biggest passion is coaching. So I coach all of them in youth sports, anywhere from my 4-year-old son plays t-ball all the way up to my high school age children, the sports that they play. So I'm very excited to be here today, and turn the mic back over to Jim to kick us off.
All right, great. Thank you, DJ. All right, well, as Fred mentioned, this is part 2 of our speaker series, and today's discussion is going to be on finance. And we're going to take a little bit of different approach this morning, and we're going to tag team this presentation. First, talking a little bit about who is Erickson Senior Living, a little bit about our history, what's gone on the last 36 years we've been in existence, and then also talk a little bit about the contract options available here at Siena Lakes and in this marketplace. And then I'll turn it over to DJ to talk about some of the key financial and operational metrics and why it's important to consider those things before you make a choice to move into Siena Lakes. Okay? So let's jump right in and talk a little bit about Erickson Senior Living history. So the organization was founded 36 years ago by a man named John Erickson. Anybody familiar with the name John Erickson? No? Well, he was a visionary, and he had this vision of creating large-scale retirement communities for our generation to enjoy a lifestyle. And in 1983, he started his vision in a town just south of Baltimore, in Catonsville, and started Charlestown Retirement Community. And over the next 10 years, he developed that campus to include over 1,500 independent living units and 400 continuing care units, which house our assisted living and skilled nursing facilities. And he had a great deal of success during that time. So he decided to expand his vision, and shortly after completing Charlestown, he added 2 new campuses, one in Fred's home state of Michigan, and one just on the north side of Baltimore in Parkville, Maryland, called Oakcrest Village. And those 2 campuses as well did very well. They filled up very fast, very successful. And in the late 90s, John decided to expand the business more aggressively. And over the next 10 years, we expanded from 3 communities in 2 states to 16 communities in 9 states. It was an amazing growth period. The company was doing very, very well, and we saw a lot of success. And everyone is aware of what happened in 2007, 2008, 2009 in the economy. The economy took a turn for the worse, and we had a banking crisis during that time, which caused the housing market to suffer some difficulties. And that also impacted our business at the time. during our growth period in two ways. One, with the housing market collapse, our residents found it difficult, or prospective residents, found it difficult to sell their homes and move into our campuses. So that slowed down our sales pace. But the most important impact that this financial downturn had on our business was that the organization's financial structure was broken. Okay? Almost all of our development over that 10-year period to go from 3 communities to 16 communities was financed with bank debt. We were about 100% leveraged, almost 100% leveraged with bank debt on all of our investments. And with the slowing sales pace and a heavily burdened financial structure with bank debt and impatient banks at the time, we were forced into bankruptcy in 2009. And it was a difficult time for folks who were around at that point, Red and I, and other members of the team. But one thing that we were extremely proud of is at no time were services ever impacted to our residents in any one of our 16 campuses. Okay? No resident, every resident received their interest deposit refund during that time. You see, the business model wasn't broken, it was a financial structure. It was a financial structure at Erickson that caused the bankruptcy. But thankful to me and to all of us, a prominent businessman in the Baltimore area named Jim Davis, who had known John Erickson for years before the bankruptcy, had a connection to John's vision. And Jim Davis and his investment arm called Redwood Capital purchased Erickson in April of 2010, and we became Erickson Senior Living. And the company took a much different direction with its growth strategy moving forward. The first thing we did was we stabilized the corporate structure. Okay, we didn't have any debt. Redwood Capital purchased Erickson for cash, so we didn't have any burdens from debt. So what we did is we stabilized the organization, and we also continued to develop on the 7 communities that were not fully built out. So at those 7 campuses, we continued to build additional housing units, independent living units, and we also built 5 continuing care facilities, which includes our assisted living and our skilled nursing facilities. And we did that for about 4 years until 2014, and that's when we began to expand and develop new communities, where we purchased a community on the east coast of Florida in West Palm Beach called Devonshire. Anybody familiar with Devonshire in West Palm Beach? Okay, we have a community 2 hours, about 2 hours maybe, just east of here, and that community is doing very, very well. And we built 2 brand new communities, ground up. One just west of New York City in a town called New Providence, New Jersey, and that's called Lantern Hill. And then our most recent addition to the portfolio just opened last May of 2018, just south of Charlotte, and that's called Windsor Run. And that campus too is doing very, very well. And we're even more excited to add our 20th campus here in Southwest Florida, at Siena Lakes. So this is a view of our current markets that we're in. We're in 13 states, with our 20th campus being here, and we're looking to expand even more. So where are we today? So today, Erickson Living is one of the largest CCRC operators in the United States. And before I go on, does everybody know what CCRC stands for?
No.
Great. I hate saying continuing care retirement communities, it's just too long. So I'll continue to say CCRC. But we are one of the largest CCRC operators in the United States, serving over 27,000 residents across the United States and looking to grow with more. We boast one of the highest occupancies in the industry. And as DJ goes through some of the checklist of things that you should consider when choosing a retirement community, this is one of the things you should consider. And he'll show you where we are versus the industry. If some of you attended the speaker series last month with Dr. Matt Merritt, he talked about our Medicare Advantage program and our geriatric specialist network, medical network, which is very robust. We have well over 100 physicians and nurse practitioners serving only our residents that live in our communities. And our Medicare Advantage program is a tailored program only for residents who reside at Erickson communities. So it's just tailored for us. And we're the only one in the nation that has that. And one of the things I'm most proud of, and one of the things that's kept me here, and many of the folks who have a lot of longevity with the organization, is our high employee and resident satisfaction. If you're not happy with your job, you're not going to stay. And if your employees aren't happy, your residents aren't going to be happy. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is every year we get our resident and employee satisfaction surveys that they're extremely high. Our employees and our residents recommend one another. And that says a lot about an organization. And it says a lot about people who work here. And then finally, our growth strategy. We're looking to continue to grow this business. And we have significant levels of capital to invest. And over the last 9 years, since Redwood purchased Erickson Living, we've invested over $1.5 billion in new development, including our new communities and finishing out communities that had room for development. And only about 20% of that was financed through bank debt. So we have a very healthy cash situation where we can invest in new properties, not worrying about returns for banks, not worrying about covenants that banks want us to have. We can make the right decision at the right time in the right place. And that's what we can do. We control our own destiny. So let's switch gears and talk a little bit about our contract options here in the marketplace and here at Siena Lakes. And there are lots of different choices, and I was speaking with Fred this morning about the different choices out there. With type A communities, type C communities, type D, there's type B, there's type E. There's a lot of different choices out there. But the most prominent contract types in the CCRC are the type A contracts and the type C contracts. Type A communities, which you may refer to as life care communities, are communities that typically have a higher monthly fee when you move in, typically a higher deposit as well. And your fees do not change as you progress through levels of care, whether you need independent living, assisted living, or skilled nursing. Your fees stay the same outside of the normal annual increases. And one of the things that that higher monthly fee does is it not only covers the cost of services you're receiving today, but it's also funding services you may or may not need in the future. And that's an important concept. In the type C communities, which we're offering here at Siena Lakes, we call those a fee-for-service contract. And it's typically a lower monthly fee when you move in, because you're moving into an independent living unit, which has a lower monthly fee, and you're only paying for the services you're receiving in that unit. If the need arises where you need to move to higher levels of care, your fee will increase to cover the cost of services in that environment. You see, you're not paying upfront for services you may not need. And in fact, across the 27,000 residents that we have in our campuses at any given time, only 15% of our residents ever need an enhanced level of care. And I think most folks in this room, many of you, may have long-term care insurance as well. So if you have long-term care insurance, that would be another reason or consideration you would want to make before choosing a type A campus, because you essentially be paying your insurance twice. One in your monthly fee, and one from your long-term care insurance. That's a consideration that you should have. Okay? And then there's type D communities out there, the rental communities, typically don't have a deposit, but have a very high monthly fee. Okay? Our refundable entrance deposit program. There's a lot of choices out there for that as well. There's 90% entrance fees, there's 80%, there's 0%, there's 50%. The market is spread with various levels of contracts. Well, here in Southwest Florida, it's more prominent to see 70 to 80% contracts, and we're offering the 80% contract as well as a lower deposit option, which has a 0% refund in the 0% contract. So we have two offerings here at Siena Lakes. From a monthly fee perspective, you can expect your monthly fees to be predictable moving forward. It'll be the same amount every single month from January through December. There'll be no fluctuation for seasonal utilities or unexpected maintenance costs, and it's great for financial planning. Each year, we go through a business planning process. We assess the marketplace. We assess our cost structure, our wage structure, impacts to the business in that way. And we take a look to see what should the monthly fee increases be. And typically what we're seeing in our industry, in our communities, is 3 to 5% on an annual basis. And they increase every single year. So it's great for financial planning to know exactly what you're paying today and what your potential increases could be in the future. Okay? And my last slide, to me, really hits home for me, and it goes back to the mission that we have as an organization. And again, it's one of those things that keep me here for 23 years is our Home for Life commitment. And